So hello and welcome to our presentation. I'm Adam and this is Tom, and we're here to talk to you about our experiences as newly qualified UIC facilitators and the importance of sticking to the discipline. Despite feeling really nervous about presenting today, it's not been an issue getting to know Tom. He was actually my best man last year during our time training to be facilitators. We've been best friends for 25 years. We was together in primary school, secondary school, college, university. I did try to get rid of him for a few years, but as you can tell, that didn't work. And now we work together. We are in different departments, but for some reason, this just feels a bit of fate that we're still presenting together at 28 years old. I'm not sure what I think about it, to be honest. But Tom's going to talk to you in a minute about One Manchester, but I'm just going to talk a little bit about my role and how I got involved with One Manchester. So after university, studying criminology, obviously with Tom, I got a job on the community safety team dealing with antisocial behaviour as a neighbourhood warden. I then went on to manage that team before the merger happened, which again Tom will talk into detail about the merger. I then became a neighbourhood assistant before I quickly got a promotion to being a neighbourhood officer dealing with tenancy management, and then with our role has recently changed. I am now a place coordinator, which is still dealing with tenancies, but we're looking at maximising our input into our places as well as our people. So that's me, and that's an introduction. I feel a bit better now I've spoken, so I'm going to pass on to Tom, who's got a nice stand in front of him.
Hello everyone, as Adam said, my name's Tom. I'm the better looking one of the two. I'll start with that, as you can. I also joined One Manchester in June 2015 when the merger had just happened. I started as a neighbourhood warden, just as Adam did, and then transferred across to a neighbourhood assistant dealing with tenancy management, and then eventually back to the community safety team as an intervention and enforcement officer, and now I'm a community safety coordinator, still tackling antisocial behaviour, but just a little step forward. Great start. No, one more. Right, just a little bit about One Manchester. I'm not going to go into too detail, just a little bit of background. So, in 2015, as I've just said, two housing associations merged. It was City South Manchester and Eastlands Homes to become One Manchester. And back in 2015, One Manchester would probably be seen just as a housing association also. But it's now today much, much more than that. It's one of the leading few in the sector, leading in social innovation, but not only that, taking great strides in the commercial side of the business and breaking its own targets on new builds. And developing that side of things. Its stock is in some of the most deprived areas of the UK, which is well recognised by One Manchester. And you can tell that with some of the internal teams we work with, such as the One Money team, helping our customers with financial resilience, and the One Future team to try and increase employment in the area. So in order to stay as a front runner, we need to continuously improve, which leads us nicely into facilitation at One Manchester.
So we're just going to tell you a bit about what we're going to cover in this presentation first. So like Tom said, we're going to start off with facilitation at One Manchester. Why we chose facilitation, was it the right choice? We hope so. The reservations before and during the training, the challenges for ourselves as newly qualified facilitators. Then we're just going to give a couple of examples about the importance of sticking to the discipline and the benefits of UIMPROVE. And then we're just going to give a couple, I wouldn't say pitfalls, but a couple of tips for anyone who's thinking about becoming a facilitator. So that's what we're going to cover.
I am pressing it, I promise. There you go. So just a little bit about facilitation at One Manchester so far. So when it was City South Manchester back in 2008 is when they first started using UIC. And I think that point itself shows that the continued investment to this present day from One Manchester shows just how well it works and how good it is for the organisation. We currently have a network of 20 trained facilitators at One Manchester, 9 from the originally trained group in 2009. And then in the merger, following the merger, 2015-2016, there was an influx in training of facilitators. I presume just to help cope with the merger and what change will come and the progression and all the projects that will come out of that, so that's where the influx came from. One facilitator was already trained another organisation before joining One Manchester, and then in 2018-19, for a variety of reasons, we lost 5 facilitators, but We soon fixed that and trained 4 new ones, 2 of which are stood here, myself and Adam in 2018.
So once you become a facilitator at One Manchester, you get an invite from Liz to attend the facilitator network meetings. These are held every quarter and it's led by 2 trained facilitators from the network. Myself and Tom found these sessions really useful because as a new facilitator, you're not too confident in your own experiences, and they often start off with activities to build the team building sessions. And for us this was crucial because as much as we all know each other and we work together, we're all from different departments, and we found this really useful because we're working with these going forward, and that was big to get to know the team. As well, in these sessions, in these meetings, we do round robins and give feedback on any projects and any assignments that we've been involved with. And this again, this provided lots of confidence, not provided, but this gives us lots of confidence because facilitating and things going wrong do happen. And for me and Tom as new facilitators, we was worried about things going wrong in certain assignments, and we found this really useful that whether you've been doing it for a year or 10 years, things still go wrong. And we also got confidence from this because there was a lot of learning outcomes from them, and we discuss these at length in these meetings, so we find these really useful. As well, we might discuss at a previous meeting a technique that we've not used for, not myself and Tom, because obviously we've only been doing it a year, but someone might say, I've not done Ishikawa for 2 years, so then we'll do these at the next meeting. So again, these are really useful about speaking to each other and communicating to improve going forward. I put the facilitator away day in as well because for me, I've been involved in, well, I've worked for a couple of organisations and I've been involved in many away days, but for me, the facilitator was genuinely the best one I've been involved in. The balance between work and enjoyment was just spot on. Again, 2 of our more experienced facilitators led the session. We did a more intense team building session activity, and we also did some small group work and looked at ways we can improve facilitation at One Manchester. And there was a lot of themes, and we clustered, and there was a lot of similarities in improvements going forward that was identified. And from this, we have now formed our facilitation improvement group. It's a small group within the network, and we've had, I think it's 1 session, is it maybe 2 sessions, Liz? Yeah, 2 sessions, and from the actions from the away day, we've looked at an action plan, so things like the allocating of facilitators, that's been an issue what's been raised on the away day, how that is, and looking at availability of facilitators. We've had a look at venues within One Manchester because obviously we changed office a couple of years ago and that's been an issue facilitating in some of the rooms, so we're looking at alternative venues. And then just a couple of minor ones, but for facilitators are really important, so storage space for obviously the equipment, what we use. And then another one for me, which was important because I myself experienced this, where I had an experienced manager who'd worked at City South and One Manchester for years in Barry Sayers. And when my new manager came into One Manchester, as I think Anna, she's not aware of the UIC, I found it hard to sort of explain to Lindsay, my new manager, that I'm a facilitator and it's an important part of my role going forward. And one of the actions for the improvement group is to look at briefing new managers when they come in to make sure that they're aware and that we do have these additional duties, because I found that when we have safeguarding issues or tenancy management issues that need to be dealt with, but I've got to go away from my desk into the room for 2 to 3 hours, obviously there's a workload issue there, so I think that's important to get that across to new managers.
Okay. So why facilitation? First 2 points will be for them actually.
So all 4 of these are both from mine and Tom's perspective, but a big one is career development. We want to improve as people in our career and go as high as possible. But it was actually a conversation with my head of service why I chose facilitation. Like I said previously, I have managed people on the community safety team, and I just passed my CIH level 4 housing qualification. I thought, I'm ready. The next job that comes out, I'm going for it. So I spoke to Alan and he said, there was a hint of sarcasm, and I know this isn't fully true, but he said, well, you can't become a manager, can you? And I said, why? I'm thinking I'd done something wrong. He said, well, you're not a facilitator. So I think that just shows the reputation that the UIC and facilitation and being a facilitator in One Manchester, how important it is. So that was a big factor in why we become a facilitator, because I knew that going forward I would feel uncomfy if I'm being interviewed by my head of service and then when he says, why have you not become a facilitator? So, also building networks, like Tom said, we merged with, well, I was part of Eastlands Home, so was Tom, and we merged with City South in 2015. And I literally went from knowing 80 to 90% of people in Eastlands Homes to then it probably went to 30-40% because there was a lot of turnover in staff for different reasons. So I spoke to two current facilitators and I said, tell me why I want to be a facilitator, sell it to me. And Paul Doherty actually said it. For networking, it really is massive, and it's helped me. I can't explain how much it's helped me in my day-to-day job, because I now know who manages certain departments. I'm involved in different projects, and I literally can't explain how helpful that has been in building networks, especially since the merger. Because when the merger happened, I was thinking, how am I going to know all these people? I'd built an encyclopedia for people who to go to for certain jobs within the organisation, and then the merger happened, and this has been massive for myself and as Tom as well. So
okay.
I'll pass it back to you, Tom.
So again, why to become a facilitator? I think I speak on behalf of all facilitators, especially at One Manchester, but probably in general, that we all have a passion for improvement. It's one of the reasons, or one of the main reasons, why we opted to become facilitators. We all want to better ourselves, like Adam just said, but also the services we offer, and also our working environment. So it's exciting to see One Manchester's vision, but it's even more exciting to be a part of it in our day-to-day role. But this adds another element on delivering One Manchester's vision. So that's the main reason, or one of the main reasons, why I opted to become a facilitator. Embracing change. I think all facilitators embrace change. Some people find it more difficult than others to embrace change. It was made very clear to us, to staff at One Manchester, that there was going to be a lot of change after the merger, and you should embrace it and go along with it and enjoy it. So I think facilitators do that, and they want the change to happen. But having said that, not everyone embraces change. I can tell you that every Saturday night for the last 15 years, Adam's had the same curry from the same curry house, and he will not change. So it doesn't always. It doesn't. Stay in now. Personal development also, it sort of links in with the career development, but on a personal level as well. It's made me a more confident person in general, not just at work, but outside of work also. And it also improved my one of my downfalls, which is preparation and organisational skills, especially through educational years, school, college. Like I was alongside Adam. I used to turn up to an exam and grab Adam an hour before and say, tell me what I need to know, basically. And he would. I wouldn't do much preparing, but this course has shown me the importance of preparation, and I have been able to build that into my personal life. Having said that, I did book a room an hour early when I met with Lucy last week, so it's not worked that very well. If anyone else uses this, don't press too hard. So, some initial reservations that facilitators, or myself and Adam and others, had before the training and also during the training. First of all, before I became a facilitator myself, obviously I was involved in some project kickstart meetings and other meetings in One Manchester when the UIMPROVE methodology was being used, and I didn't fully understand it, to be honest, being on one side of it. And an example of that is cocktail parties, which is a tool that I guess is used quite regularly because it is a very important tool. But at the time I was thinking, why are we doing this? All we seem to be doing is putting post-it notes everywhere. It looks messy and I don't fully understand it. But obviously, as becoming trained as a facilitator, you start to understand the work that's done after that and actually how important it really is. So it's about, I think, speaking with your colleagues and making sure they're aware of why it's being done and the importance of it. A concern during the training was how I was going to remember the techniques. There was a lot of information to take in while training, and I remember speaking to Adam saying, are we going to remember all this and how do we do it? But again, that fear soon goes away when you realise you've got the manual to help you and you've got your colleagues to help you. We do have the network meetings just to refresh yourselves on all techniques that you might not use too frequently. So them initial concerns were soon dealt with. Handwriting, this is a little bit of a funny one. Well, not really funny, but Adam actually did bring this up as a genuine concern in the training. If you see Adam's handwriting, it's like little chicken scratches and you'd never be able to read it in a million years. So he was genuinely concerned he's going to have to do a lot of writing in front of a lot of people. Is this okay? And obviously UIC does not discriminate, and actually the normal method is to work in pairs, so you can use one person's strengths against the other. So Adam could do, he can write, but it was it was a genuine concern, though.
I always think about the next sentence.
Yeah,
instead of focusing.
Need to slow down. And how does it benefit the company? This sort of works in with a cocktail party thing. Again, you sat there when you're not a facilitator, or you're not well, you don't know UIMPROVE that well, and you try to figure out why we brought this amount of people into the meeting, included 2 extra facilitators. I should be doing my own work. Just kind of negative stuff like that. But again, once you get to know the UIMPROVE and you do see the benefits of to the company, it gives structure, consistency, it betters planning, preparation, clarity, and it gets the full workforce involved as well. It's not just decisions are made at the top level. We're getting ideas out from people on the front line, which is obviously a key point. I'm going to pass over to Adam to talk a little bit about Dr. Deming's theory.
So this theory will always stick to me during the training. Can you just give me a click?
Sorry. Try.
I remember sitting next to Tom and tapping him on the leg saying, "This is a load of rubbish," during the training. Sorry, Barley and Lucy. But then I felt my mindset changing, and I was thinking, normally I make a decision and I stick to it, but I genuinely felt my mentality during the training change. I don't know whether that was naivety or lack of intelligence or anything, but anyway, I'm just going to read this quote out to you, okay? So, 85% of the reasons for failure are deficiencies in the systems and process rather than the employee. The role of management is to change the process rather than badgering individuals to do better. So, myself and Tom have managed people in the past, and we'll always speak with best mates if we have issues outside of our personal life. We always say it's the person, or if we're doing something wrong, we'll look at ourselves. We're the problem, they're the problem, why is it not being done? And going forward, I just think it's literally changed my mindset. So if something's not working in work, or my day-to-day job, I'll think, is it the process first, rather than it's myself or my colleague. So I just thought I'd mention that because it literally, my mindset has changed from the person to the process, and it's, sorry, just to carry on, but we're now looking at processing within our team, and I just think because of this, it's helped that format come out, because it's been formed by a conversation with my manager about the process, and I'm now identifying problems within our team rather than looking at individuals. So I just thought this will always stick with me, so I just wanted to mention that. Okay,
so a little bit about newly qualified facilitators, so how we felt just after we were qualified and some of the challenges that we came into. First point, feeling nervous and are we good enough? As I mentioned before, we had just done quite some intense training, and we was excited to get on with it, but we was asking ourselves, are we going to be able to do it well enough, basically? And you're going to be working alongside with some senior member of management that you wouldn't be working alongside normally, so that's always in the back of your head, thinking, are you going to come across well enough? Are they going to understand what you're saying, etc.? But again, that was eliminated very quickly. You wait for your first call up to be a facilitator off Liz, and then you do get the call up and you go and do it, and everything works out. Again, you've got your manual to refer to in the facilitation network, just for a little bit of confidence. Are we using and choosing the best tool? This is a question that comes up quite a lot. Some people that have been facilitators for some time obviously are quite confident in which tool to choose, but being newly qualified facilitators, we have a little bit of deliberation over what we should and shouldn't be using. But again, same as I've mentioned a few times, speak to each other, you'll come up with the right answer or refer back to the manual. Contradicting opinions. You work in pairs quite frequently as facilitators, and one of my concerns, or a challenge that I came across, was when you're working with a more experienced facilitator and you have a slight disagreement only over the format of whatever project you're going to be working with. Or, for example, my first session, the lead facilitator wanted to do a little bit of an extended session and add a little bit onto the end of it. I didn't think it was quite needed in that scenario, so I put that point forward. We looked into it. We went along with it anyway, and actually it did turn out that we didn't have to do that extra bit at the end. I mean, we figured that out throughout the session, and we didn't go ahead and do it. But again, contradicting opinions, we're working on that kind of stuff. It's never an argument, obviously, in the facilitator meetings and clarifying what tools should and shouldn't be using to eliminate that concern or the challenge even. And as Adam touched on lightly before, workload. That's definitely a concern for all the facilitators, at least at One Manchester, I imagine elsewhere. Our day-to-day roles does take up every second of the day if we allow it to, so I guess management's involvement in that plays a key to understand the importance of facilitators and the benefit to the organisation, as I said before. But again, the network meetings that we're doing, we're discussing how we can improve availability, so we've created a spreadsheet of a yearly availability for each facilitator, so that's just one way around finding out whether someone's available or not and to help deal with the workload problem. Sorry, this is just a picture of us, the newly qualified facilitators, deliberating and choosing the best tool.
We're just going to give 2 examples now of projects we've been involved in, and Tom's going to talk about sticking to the discipline, and I'm going to talk about the benefits of UIMPROVE. I was involved in a quality of diversity group kickstart meeting, so Tom, you can go first if that's okay.
So the picture you're looking at is a facilitated session that we did. It was building relationships with GP surgeries. It wasn't just that, it was strengthening the communication between us and the health service in general, but more so the GP surgeries. And it just gives a great example, I think, of the kind of stuff facilitators are doing and looking at the bigger picture, actually the impact we could be having. Obviously, if we do increase or better the relationship between RPs and GP surgeries, the positive impact it'll have on our tenants is great. So that's just a great example of the kind of stuff we are working with and the level of projects we are working with. It's a good case study also because, again, it had a couple of speed bumps that we hit. So in the pre-meetings, when we was trying to organise what we was going to do in the session itself, the project champion had a great idea of what he wanted to do, how he wanted to do it, and the outcome, which is great, and that's what you ask of a champion. But actually, it wasn't UIC methodology at all. So myself and Adam, the newly qualified ones, had to stick to our guns and make sure we put forward why we think or why we should use stick to the discipline and use UIC methodology and explain what could happen if we didn't do that. Actually, the better outcome will come by using this method rather than that method. After a few meetings, this was understood and we did go ahead and we had a great session, some very simple brainstorming activity, putting some ideas into a grid and then a nice easy voting system within the tables to pick some ideas that we want to go away and work on. It all ran smoothly, and I think it's a good example of the kind of stuff we're working with, the problems we can come across and how we get over them problems. And actually the outcome was great. They've took us away great ideas to work on to improve the relationships between us and GP surgeries. I don't know if this is working. There you go.
So I was involved in the Equality and Diversity Kickstart meeting, and to be honest, it's literally the most emotional I've ever felt in the workplace. And an email came round asking if people want to be involved and be a part of the group. And to be honest, even though I did explain it in the email, I didn't really understand where the group was going and what its agenda was. But it's to drive equality and diversity within One Manchester and have an influence on equality and diversity going forward. And I just think it showed the benefits of UIMPROVE on a different level. We started off with a round robin, and we've all been involved in meetings where 1 or 2 people just dominate the meeting, and without that round robin, I don't think the group would have ever kicked off properly, and I don't think it will have ever been a success that it's going to be without that initial round robin, because some of the stories that were told in that round robin will forever stick with me. And I just think it was all down to the UIMPROVE methodology and the round robin, giving everyone a voice. And we spoke about it, didn't we, Tom?
Yeah.
Just saying that if you ever doubt the importance of a round robin, then we'll always refer back to that. So that was the benefits of UIMPROVE. And now just a couple of tips from me and Tom to finish. Time is crucial. Like Tom said, don't plan too much in one session. If it takes 2 or 3 sessions, it's better than trying to do too much in one. I was involved in one, and it was with an experienced facilitator, and I had a similar conversation like Tom that I think we should reduce the amount of work in this session. he disagreed, but he explained why he disagreed, and we was happy to go, and it turned out, similar to Tom, that there was too much in one session, so that's crucial for us, isn't it? Not planning too much in one session. And that really goes into the next point about the pre-meet. Make sure in that pre-meet it's identified exactly what the project champion wants from the session, and that you take lead in that pre-meet and you don't let them dominate the conversation. And for me and Tom, I think the best thing for us when we became facilitators was getting the first call up from Liz. I think within the first 2 months I'd done 3 sessions, so I was really nervous about doing my first one, and before I know it I felt I wouldn't say experienced, but I felt more experienced and less nervous. So put yourself forward, get involved. If they do go wrong, but it's about learning and becoming better facilitators going forward. So, and that's it, and thank you for listening. We feel better now.